Good morning. Happy Sunday. Let's see, we've got, excuse me. Let's see, we've got all this up and running. Good morning, Doreen. Yes. So in foundation paper piecing, they recommend a stitch length between um, 1.3 and 1.7. And I'm a cuckoo and I stitch at a 1.1. I am what I call an aggressive ironer. I don't even pretend that I'm a presser. And so I really like the fabric to feel like when the two pieces are sewn and ironed down, that they are one solid piece of fabric. Like there's no join. And so if I sew at a longer stitch length, I can see the stitches the way I iron things down. And my greatest pet peeve in any stitching is being able to see the stitches in between the joins. Uh, I don't recommend a 1.1 to anybody that hasn't been doing it for a while, because at a 1.1 or whatever it is, like the closest that your machine does, it's it's painful if you have to unpick what if you have to pick out what you did, unstitch, if you have to rip it. So I I always stitch at a 1.1. When I'm traditionally piecing, I stitch at a 1.8. I like the small stitches, but I have accepted the emotional damage that comes from a 1.1. So just be forewarned. But anything in between, oh, Nightbot is on smoking something because it already thinks it's been an hour. Anything between a 1.3 and a 1.8 is the recommended, uh, only because you're tearing out the papers, and a smaller stitch length makes that a lot easier because it's perforating the paper closer together. If you're not comfortable with that and you want to go very, very gently in ripping out the papers, you can go at a stitch length that you're comfortable with, especially as you're just beginning. I hope that answers the question. But good morning. So good morning to Doreen and Charlotte and Marianne. Hello, my love. Hi, Shelly and Johanna. Hi, Melissa. Jeannie. I know, Nightbot. It is, it feels like I've been overworking it, apparently. Joanna says she's changed to a 1.8 when piecing. Yeah. Good morning, Tamala. Hello, everybody. So we are today going to be working on hello, Bass Drop. Bass Drop has come to say hello. I will move him once we get started so everybody can see what I'm actually doing, but we'll let him hang out for a bit. Hi, Robert. A couple of weeks ago on a Sunday brunch, we prepped the fabric for Legit Kit's Blue Jay Mini, which is their 4 block kind of stripped down version of the BJ the Blue Jay, which was not the one of the largest ones. It was a smaller one. This was even an even smaller version of that. Like, so we're going to deal with tiny units, little units, like little pieces of paper with several pieces of fabric on them. But it is definitely doable. Oh, Bass Drop, you're laying on all the pieces, and I had them alphabetical. Oh well, we'll get it figured out. So yeah, so today that's what we're going to be working on, is putting together block A1 from the Blue Jay Mini, which is going to be a lot of fun. I think I said hi to Shelly. Russ is here from Quilt Meets World. Good morning. How have you been doing? Yeah, Bass Drop has decided that he would like to steal the spotlight today. Oh, and we've got a lot of shine coming over here all of a sudden. I think it's from bouncing off of him. Uh, when he moves away, we'll try to get that cleaned up so we can watch. I can show you what it will look like. I store my legit kits in accordion files like this. The larger ones, I have 60 pocket accordion files. For these little smaller pieced ones, I have them in smaller, much easier to lift and carry. Because I sew not only here in this space, but I also sew upstairs in my bedroom, which is also my office space. So I like to be able to carry things up and down. Oh, Shelly says that she just got her kit in the mail for the Blue Jay Mini. That's fantastic. Yeah. So I had mine because of being a certified instructor with legit kits. So I had mine ahead of time. And I wanted to make sure that everybody had gotten theirs, at least to have it in hand before I started actually sewing the pieces together. So Shelly, I'm very excited to hear that. That's fantastic. So this is the beauty that we're going to be working on. The little mini Blue Jay. I started working on the larger one, and I started using Kona Sheen in the larger one. I'm going to continue the larger one with the Kona Sheen, and I'm going this one straight out of the package. So folks that did get the Blue Jay Mini, and if you were interested in it, it is listed in the details, the description below. It is a affiliate link, so just know that I will get some a few dollars sent my way for saying, hey, I'm talking about it and I'm doing it live. But it doesn't raise the price for you. It doesn't cost you anything. It just lets them know that I'm talking about it. So it's definitely not too late to join if you wanted to. You don't also have to buy the whole kit, although right now it's only $80, which is, I think it's $40 off basically. I think a cat is on the camera. Yes, the mama cat is on the camera. She's moving it. But you can also just get the pattern itself by itself without the fabrics, and a 4-block pattern is going to be a lot easier to pull just from your stash than one of the larger ones. So there is that. You can definitely do that. Oh, he is. He's so cute. I know. I really love Blue Jays, and I know that they're not like the nicest birds in the bird world, but I kind of dig the attitude. I have a family of cardinals, so like I know that it's not like the same mama and papa anymore, but like some of their family has continued the trend of nesting in a tree right outside. And then we have Blue Jays all the time too. And I just really like the antics they get into. They kind of run the show, and it makes me laugh. Hi, Jean. How are you doing? Okay, so I'm going to convince Mr. Bassdrop that I do not need an emotional support animal at this moment. And I'm going to move him along, and then we're going to get started. And I'm just going to go straight A through, I think it's J, I think. But I'm just going to go straight through. And this morning, I'm going to show how I do legit kits in a more factory, like a factory line kind of procession. And I'll show you how I do that and keep everything straight when I'm doing that. Good morning, Carrie. Hello. So good to see you. All right, everybody, let's convince Bassdrop it's time to move his booty. Let me just make sure he's not going to knock any of these down as I do that. Hello, sir. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so mean, but it's time to get up. If you were laying on another piece. Okay. No, don't get more comfy. Oh, you're so cute. Okay, come this way. We'll give you hugs. We'll give you loves. All right. And then go that way. No, no. No, you're not trying. Supposed to crawl further on my arm. Go that way. There you go. He is. Okay, he's gonna sit there. He may yell at me. You might hear him expressing his disappointment. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So I had, well, before base drop laid on them, I had them all in alphabetical order. If we don't do them all in alphabetical order, it's not a big deal. It's not gonna hurt anything. And did he, yeah, the light not bouncing off of him made this less shiny. But I'm gonna try to remain as an alphabetical order as possible. In the end, it's not gonna matter because you're gonna arrange all the pieces when you're done sewing them. So no worries if you're not doing it in alphabetical order. No worries if you get ahead of me. I'm not the fastest sewer in the world. All good. I have no problems admitting that. We all sew as we sew. I sew for enjoyment and the love of it. I'm not trying to be a robot when I'm doing it. So not the fastest sewer in the world. And I'm going to be talking to you guys. So Dorian says she's having the same kitty issues. They do love to be a part of it. But I'm also going to be talking. So if you get ahead of us, amazing. I'm so excited. If you have any questions, if you're sewing along, let me know. If you have any questions just because you see me do something that you've never seen before, or if you have suggestions because you have figured out a fun new way to do something, let us all know, because that's the best part about doing this live in a community. We all get to share our knowledge. So I don't even pretend that I know all of the things, and I continue to watch other people doing foundation paper piecing because I learn new stuff all the time. Shelly says base drop wants to be in the spotlight. He is such an attention monger. I'll just say monger. All right, so I'm going to put all of the pieces to the side and lose a few of them. And I'm going to start with my first two pieces. I definitely know this is not in alphabetical order anymore because I don't think, yeah, this is D. So what I do when I am trying to be more efficient is I'll have one piece and two piece right next to each other. I'll make sure my iron is on because I often forget that. I do use, even in foundation paper piecing, I do use, and you can tell that this pen is well loved, the precision piecing, the magic juice from Acorn. I use this all the time. So I will use this to help with that whole making sure the two pieces of fabric look like they're one. And what I'll do is I'll take, and when I'm fabric prepping, I always put the fabric on top of the paper in order that I need it. So I'm never confused about which color is what once I've put all that paperwork away. I never want to have to look at it again. So we are going to start with A1A. I hope you can see that. It's a little crinkled. I know that this piece that's on top is piece one, and piece one is down here. And I want to show you the difference between what we're sculpting piece one to look like at the end, which is this little piece of little black little piece, and the piece that I start off with. I don't want you to be nervous about FPP when you look at these little pieces and you think, oh my gosh, I'm working with such small pieces of fabric. You're not working with that size piece of fabric. You're chipping away at a chunk of fabric this size to make it in the end look like this small. So you'll end up with a piece that small, but you don't start off with a piece that small. And the awesome thing about legit kits, if you get the kit and you get them all in solids, is you don't have to worry about right sides or wrong sides. But you might want to get into the habit of just remembering the first piece of every unit is right side up. So it's like wrong sides together, because I feel everybody feels like this is the right side because it's the sew lines, but this is actually the back of your finished piece. This is going to be the pretty side. It's going to be the side that shows when we're done. So you want this first piece always to be right side up when you're looking at the fabrics. So if this was a printed or, not a solid and or not a batik, you would want this to have your design facing up. And then from this point on, it's just like traditional piecing. It's going to be right sides together from here on out. So you'll always be putting the next pieces pretty sides together. So I hope that helps you remember. Hey, Ingrid. Carrie says every time you say A1A, I think Vanilla Ice. Oh, I'm gonna have that song in my head now. Oh no. So we're gonna start off with this big. You can, if you are more comfortable, you can glue this down. If you have like the Sue Daily glue pen or the Sew Line glue pen, you could pin it. If you're comfortable just holding it, feel free to just hold it. Oh, I usually also use a postcard little thing, and I pre-score all the lines I'm going to be sewing. So we'll do that. Hi, Candace. How are you doing? Do that. And get these going. There we go. So that is all set. So again, I'll start with piece one. Make sure that it's covered. You can look up into, if you have like a window to the side, you can look up in the window. You can look up in your lamp just to make sure that the fabric covers everything that you need to cover. Especially this piece has seam allowance that you need to cover on the outside. Sorry, Fret is definitely moving the camera. She's a cuckoo. Get going, you goofball. So you have the seam allowance that you need to cover for the outside of the unit, and then you have the seam allowance that you need to make sure that you can add your piece to. But we are good there. Let's fold this back along that line. I'm going to line it up with about 1/4 of an inch. That way I don't have to trim it afterwards, because I'm lazy like that. No, I'm efficient like that, so I don't have to trim it again. So we're all covered. We're ready to add the second piece. Then I again look up in the window or the lamp to make sure the second piece is going to cover. It is a very small, I don't know if you can see the lines, but it's a very small triangle that we're fitting, and I can do the feel test, and I know that that fabric is covering that entire piece. So I know I'm good to go there. Yeah, don't panic. Hi, Terry. How are you doing? Okay, listen, lady, you are messing with my camera. Get. I think she's hiding from her sons, so she's underneath my table. All right. And we're all lined up, and we're going to sew. So for this first piece, you can start outside the seam allowance and just sew all the way across for this first piece, which is nice. And sewn all the way across. That's about 1/4 of an inch. It's a little bit heavier. I'm not going to worry about it. It's not going to matter. I'm going to press it this way. Now, good morning, Jen. Yes, happy to have you here. So now I'm going to go ahead and like set the seam. I'm going to dab a bit of magic juice and then press this down. What I will do after pressing this is I will let it cool. And this is where the efficiency part comes, because then I'll start the second piece. So I'm going to let that cool. You could slap a clapper on it if you wanted to, one of the tailor's clapper, the piece of wood that helps draw the heat out of it and sets the fabric. I'm not going to do that, but I will start the second piece, which is a smaller piece and has a lot more fabric on it, but it's still the same basis that we're doing. Starting off with a piece one that would be face up if it weren't for the fact that this is solids and right side, wrong side doesn't play a role, which is, I love working with solids for FPP. I'm definitely a more modern-ish quilter in that I do like using solids a lot in my quilting. But it definitely makes it easy in FPP because you don't have to think about it. It's pretty much done for you. All right, now I'll make sure that we're all covered here. These two. The thing with FPP is it's very upside down and topsy-turvy. So you have to help your brain realize that you're doing things mirror image, upside down, backwards. So folding over the next piece, whether that's 2, 3, 4, whatever the next piece is that you're doing, you're sewing over the flipping over the paper, and you're aligning your fabric to that flip so that you know that you're totally covered. I know that I have to bring this down a little bit to cover all of the seam allowance out here with the fabric. So we're gonna pull this out. I can see that this is over this way enough. I definitely have enough down here. It's gonna be good to go. Ingrid, so not laughing about the fact that Ingrid fell. She's explaining what happened. I am giggling about, I love that she says I don't bounce like I used to. I love batiks for that reason too. Sarah, so Terry says, Kay, hi Kay. Kay asks, do you have to backstitch with paper piecing? So when I first started paper piecing, I had it in my head. It was like muscle memory to backstitch all the time because I was doing that when I was traditional piecing. Because I sew with such a small stitch length, and most folks doing FPP sew between a 1.3 and a 1.8. I sew at a 1.1 because I'm crazy. I have not had any issues not backstitching. It holds together. The papers come off nice and clean. And even as I'm building, like, I'll be working on this block and then I'll put all of these, pieces. I might not put the block together immediately. I might just put all the pieces in and then build all the blocks. There are only 4 blocks with the Blue Jay Mini. So I may build them all at the same time. They will stay together just fine because of such a small stitch length. So I don't usually do that. Oh yeah, Robert's talking about someone used the clapper after pressing and then pressed with the clapper. So the reason it's called a clapper, which I did not know until I was watching the Great British Sewing Bee, is because the tailors, so they would iron, they would press their seam, and then they would take the piece of wood and they would clap it. So it was like they were pressing again. They would clap it against the fabric, and that's how it got started calling it a clapper. I thought that was fascinating. I love the Great British Sewing Bee. Oh, and as I'm seeing folks come in, like Terry and Kay, if you have your own YouTube channel, if you want to, let's test out Nightbot, because Nightbot was already confused and thought 2 minutes in that it had already been an hour. Cuckoo Nightbot. If you do !selfie, all lowercase, all together, no spaces in between, exclamation mark SELFIE. Nightbot should share your YouTube channel. So if you have a YouTube channel that you would like people to go and check, throw a exclamation mark selfie in there. And I'm going to go ahead and do this next piece. Oh, great, Terry. Thank you. So let's test out Nightbot, see if it's working. So that'll be our second. So then I'll bring back the piece one, and I know that this is the first piece because it's A, and I know I always have the first piece I'm working with closest to the sewing machine. Yay! Okay, excellent. It worked. So there you go. Everybody check out Terry. It's So Terry. See what machines she's been working on, what she's been up to. Ingrid. Oh, those are the best friends. I'm sure she made sure you were okay visually, made sure there were no broken bones or anything like that, and then laughed her butt off. I love it. And they were, so now I had the second one pressed and cooling off over on the side. And now I get to work on what will be piece 3 of the fabric that we're working on. And when you sew straight through, you can then lift the paper from that to get to your piece 3 sew line. Oh, sorry, my hands might be in the way, if that makes sense. So I sewed it all the way across. Now I can lift the paper up because the 2 fabrics are joined with that sew line. Now I can lift it up to free up the sew line for piece 3. And when they're coming together like this within another piece of fabric, let me move it a little bit further down, I will sew a couple or 3 stitches over into the next piece of where that fabric will lay over it and cover where it's done at. I find I get a much crisper point for all of these pieces coming together. And when I was trying to stop right at the line, sometimes, especially when I was first starting, when I would come to finish it off with this one all the way across, they wouldn't meet. And so there would be just the barest little gap. And again, I'm an aggressive ironer, and you'd be able to see it, and it would drive me insane. So I always sew a couple of stitches into frenemy territory. And so I make sure that I have a really crisp, clean join. Oh, yay, K's worked. Woohoo! Now I'm just going to pull gently. And see, you'll be, hopefully with it being a lighter fabric, you can see the sew line is still right there, but I need to get to this sew line for piece 3. So I've got to just pull it just enough to free up 3. And then what I'll do is I'll trim this down to, again, about 1/4 of an inch. If you really get into foundation paper piecing and you want to knit, if you want to sew with like 80 weight thread with the 70 size needle, you can absolutely do that. I have put together a mazillion legit kits by now and a lot of FPP projects, and I have not found that the size of the thread, obviously I'm not doing it in embroidery thread, but the size of the thread and the size of the needle does not impact what I'm doing to such great amounts that I need to worry about buying special stuff. So just letting you know, you don't have to do it. People will swear by it. And if you do, that's fine. That works for you. I have just, in my experience, not found that I need to spend all that money. All right, so now piece 3. And then I need to line up the fabric where it is that piece 3 is going to be covered. And I have the quarter, I'm losing my voice, the 1/4 inch already there when I trimmed from piece 1 and 2. So I'm just going to do the feel test, make sure I've got everything covered. I can see that piece 3 right here is coming well over the seam allowance on both sides. I can feel that it's much longer on that side. So I am good to go. But talking about it being backwards, I'm lining it up mirror image, basically upside down backwards, because piece 3 is going this way to line up the fabrics. But when I flip it over, it doesn't look like that should make sense, because piece 3 looks like it's going this way now. It's magical. If you line up your fabrics with it flipped over, because you're sewing it and then flipping the fabric up, it will line up. It still makes my brain hurt thinking about it, but it works. So I just trust the magic of quilting, of sewing, and I know that it works. Ooh, Carrie's starting a dinosaur. I do have knitting on my mind. I have knitting on my mind. I'm going to be working with a local artist. She is a seamstress, so she teaches classes in her studio for people to make clothes. And I'm going to start working with her in February. That's when her next group of classes are, to teach foundation paper piecing. But she's also found a couple of folks who are going to do things like cross stitch, and knitting is one of them. And so I now have knitting on my mind because I love knitting. My grandmother taught me, and now I want to take some of those classes. So I have it on my mind. Got a love for stabbing string and creating things. All right, so that's where piece 3 needs to be covered, and I know that piece 3 is covered by that whole thing. So also you can see that piece 3 comes out over here. So I'll let that cool off, and then I'll go to this one. Again, peel back. Peel it back. Oh, Tamara, good question. So I had put up a few new patterns that I'd worked on, and for everybody that voted, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun, and I was not at all surprised about who won. I really like that one. It's really pretty. And had stated that the winning pattern would be a sew along that's going to start in January. Which brings us to the past couple of months. And I am, well, one, I'm starting a new job on the 18th. Yay, that's going to be fun. I don't know how much and how often I'm going to be on YouTube now, moving forward. Um, I I had lost my sojo there for a while. It had been, I think the last time that I'd sat in this space was when I did the fabric prep for Blue Jay Mini. And yeah, I was kind of in my head, kind of struggling, kind of not feeling it. And I don't know that where I'm at right now in my headspace, I'm gonna be doing a whole bunch of YouTubing. I feel like I'm gonna be like the absentee dad who shows up and is like Santa Claus. And so I'll just throw out random lives and things. But so I didn't release the patterns because I didn't know if I was going to be able to commit to the sew along, and I didn't want people to buy, spend the money to buy the pattern to be told, I'm not feeling it. I'm not in that space. So yeah, so no, I have not. Hi, Del Marie. I have not released the patterns for that reason. I didn't want to set the expectation when at the time I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, if I was going to feel like doing it. And then I made the decision that yeah, I think YouTube is going to be more of a part-timey kind of thing now. Still creating patterns, but I just don't know that I'm not going to wishy-wash around it. I do know that it's not going to be as large a thing for me. Moving into like the new year. Like I said, I'll be like the absentee dad. And I'll show up and bring presents and hang out. But yeah, it's been a year. This year's been a rough year for me, really. Since the summer, being sick a bunch. And so I just kind of also midlife crisis. I turned 50 in February. Not gonna lie, not the age part I didn't think was really having an impact on me, but I definitely went through a midlife crisis. And so now I'm kind of like reevaluating what I want to do and where I want to be. Starting these classes with the local studio is really exciting, about like putting down roots here and teaching people face to face. And maybe I'll go more into more studios and teach classes more. Maybe I'll have some collaborations with folks local and do local retreat things, like weekend Saturday Sunday kind of things. I'm not closing the door on any of that. I just know for the near future, that's where I'm at. Oh, Carrie, I really appreciate that. I'm really excited about the new job. Part of so I have to go in a lot. Like I'll have to go into the office. And that, boo, having to go into the office. But the office is 4 minutes from my front door. So I can't really be all that mad at that. That's kind of nice. It's not a hard commute. And living in the DC metro area, having to go to your office can mean having to go down to DC. And I don't have to do that. I just have to go 4 minutes from my door. And that means I can come home and have lunch with, the cats and the dogs, and then head back to work. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be good. Oh, thank you guys. I really appreciate that. It's, it'll be, it'll be good. this is going to sound so bad because I really have such a good time when I'm with you guys. Um, and I enjoy every moment we've spent together, but it is really felt, well, it's felt like a job. Because, you know, I had to schedule and make sure I was here for specific things. Um, and it wasn't the fun that it was when I first started. And that's what I want to get back to. I want to get back to enjoying it because I really love being with you guys, and I really love quilting and creating and being artistic and being an absolute goofball. And I wasn't feeling that excitement and love for it. So we'll spend some time getting back to that. Oh, I haven't even talked about what the new job is. Just that I got the new job. Um, it's going to be kind of it's in the same realm of what I was doing before, not government contracting, which I think is going to be a safer bet. Hey, uh, moving forward. So not the same fear of losing contracts and everything. It's a private company. They are a biotech company. So it's very similar to what I was doing, but in a different uh, environment. And I'll be creating process documents and documenting what we call institutional knowledge, the things that people know because they've been doing the job so long, but that nobody else knows. That I'll be getting to interview folks and making sure that I have that information uh, in a location where the people that need to know can get to it. So that's cool. And again, 4 minutes from my door. And so the interviewing process was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I interviewed with like seven or eight different people. It was crazy, but no, it was seven people because six of those interviews were just Teams interviews. They were just online. One was in house, and I didn't go on like casual Friday day. I went during the middle of the week. It was like a Wednesday, and they were all in jeans and work t-shirts. And I was like, oh, I could get down with this. I don't have to go buy a whole bunch of new work clothes because I've been working from home years. Uh, for years and years. I had enough work, nice clothes to do the interviews, and have different changes of shirts and everything. So I had enough left to do that, but I definitely don't have like the wardrobe to go into a business office every day. So the fact that they were all hanging out in their jeans and t-shirts, I was like, I am home. I'm so excited. Oh yeah. Let's see. So nice to live close to work. Yes, thank you, Delmarie. It is. Joanna says, I understand having too much on your plate. Yep. I gotta do what works for my brain. Russ asked, are you gonna play with ServiceNow again? Yes, they do have ServiceNow, which is a happy thing because I understand ServiceNow. So that's gonna make me happy. Terry said, sometimes you have to eat, pray, and love. Yes. Oh, thank you. I love you all so much. It really makes me thank you all. So I was dreading, I was talking to Ingrid last night. I was dreading having the conversation because I just don't want to disappoint anybody. I want to make sure that everybody is good. And I really do love these mornings and love having the conversations. And it was making me sad that I wasn't loving it like I was. I wasn't loving the sewing part, like the having to do and having to push out things. It was I during oh I can't remember. The kids were young. They were like in middle school probably. I had a cupcakery, and it was making me like not baking anymore because of having to do all the scheduling and all of the things. And I was like, oh, this is an art form that I love. I don't want I don't want to dread it. And I was starting to feel that, like that dread building. And I was like, oh no, which then just, added to the whole midlife crisis. What am I doing with my life? Oh, what are you going to do? As I tell my kids all the time, we're all just faking it. We're all just trying to fake it till we make it. It was fun, kind of just floating about there for a while, figuring out what I was going to do. Oh, you guys are awesome. Yes, see, that's what I want, Robert. I want to be um I want to be a happy space and a kind of a mm, like a break from anybody else's blah reality, which is what I come to YouTube for. So, sir, you are so adorable and such a pain in the tuchus. Mm-hmm. You are going to have to get down. You're going to have to get down now. Go this way. Go this way. Woo. All right. So, well, I thank you all for being so very understanding. I I do 1000%. Everybody's saying do what is best for your mental health. I'm 100% on board with that. I want you all to do the same thing, uh, and not be ashamed to have to do that. And I do kind of like the idea of being like the Santa Claus of YouTube. I pop in, I bear gifts. Uh, so the plan is to, yes, still release those patterns. I worked very hard on them. They were a lot of fun. I believe in them fully, but I will be releasing them now with the making sure everybody understands that sew along as scripted and as like every week, like we were doing with the Forest for the Trees one, that is not in the cards. That will not be happening. But I love and very much believe in those patterns. The Starry Night is so gorgeous. Oh my gosh. I have all of I'm doing it in cherry wood fabrics. I have it all. I'm so excited about that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And they're 12-inch blocks, so it's gonna be a lot, but it'll build fast, and you'll get to like be excited about your progress really fast. So that's gonna be super fun. Oh, I do want to show you. So I remember at the beginning I was saying, oh, these pieces are so tiny and that will build to what they are. And now you can see, because this little piece has been chiseled down by the pieces around it. And I did not start off with that tiny piece of blue. We just chipped away at it with the other pieces joining the party. And now it is the size that it needs to be. It is that little teeny bit, just that little triangle in there. And that's what I love so much about FPP, that uh, I would lose my mind trying to traditionally piece that small, which I think is why I get frustrated with, if you guys know Art East Company, I love the work that they do, but it frustrates me to work with such small pieces traditionally, because they start off that small. Yay. You'll come and join others in chat. Oh yeah, I will definitely be. I had really like stepped away from everything for the past 2, maybe 3 weeks. I can't even remember when, but I have not watched a YouTube. I haven't watched. No, I take it back. I did watch a YouTube because I needed to watch how to hang closet doors. So it was very specific. But I haven't watched. I have been wretched and have not watched or supported any YouTube friends over the past couple of weeks. But I am getting back in the groove of doing that, and I'm excited about the Legit Kits, the little Blue Jay Mini, and I will be running my mouth on friends' YouTube channels again now. So all is gonna it's all gonna work out just fine. Just had to reboot myself. Hi Gladys, good morning. How are you? We are working on Legit Kits. Oh, let me make sure I'm doing that. Yep, that's good. Legit Kits uh Blue Jay Mini, which is a 4 block reimagining of the BJ the Blue Jay, which was an eight block, right? Yeah, 8 block original pattern, and then they released it in the little mini earlier this well, not this month, but in October. So we're sewing it up. And it's coming together. I am doing it uh sewing up 2 pieces at the same time. Kind of, it's an efficiency thing. I found when I needed to get 3 legit tops done before I could do the boot camp to become a certified instructor. I That was a lot, and I'm a slow-ish sewer, so I needed to figure out a way to get faster. And this 2 unit way, it really, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do I have an extra piece of green? Lord knows what I was doing. Oh, I know what I did. I picked up the wrong piece. And talking, this is what I did not do when I was um doing all of those legit kits at the same time. I was not talking, so I picked up from the wrong section, but that's all right. This is where the small stitch length gets frustrating, because now I'm having to pick out this piece. Which makes me laugh, because we literally just talked about this right at the start, that I have accepted the pain of having having to unpick a 1.1 stitch length. But it's not so bad, because these are with these tiny little units, it's not like I'm doing a 12-inch long seam. Woo! 12-inch at 1.1 would probably blow my mind. There we go. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now that means I may have to do, yeah, got to take this one out because I used the piece that should go next on the first piece. See, I make all these mistakes for you all so you can learn from me. Don't don't run your mouth when you're trying to be efficient because you will screw up. All good though. All right, I'll do that after I get this piece on so that this one is up to date because we're almost done. Alrighty, let's get this green on. I think GR is grass green, if I remember correctly, the codes. So if I had been paying attention, I would have read the code and realized I was not grabbing the right pile. But all good. Yeah, Kay was saying, I remember when it used to make me cry having to rip out the tiny pieces, the tiny stitching. It will make you question your life choices. How did I get to this point? But I did it to myself, so nobody to blame but me. I love these colors together. This green with the blues, so pretty. Green's my favorite color. And since green is built off of blue, they go together beautifully. Where did I stop? Here we go. Also, this is where I'm at. I have to look over my glasses so I can see the tiny things. And they're progressive, so but it's still, even looking through the what's supposed to be the close up, even that isn't close enough. I remembered to say happy birthday to my baby sister today, which is always good to remember. And we got to figure out what we're going to do. We usually do a sister's dinner, but we've all been so busy. We haven't really talked about it. Last year, we went to an Italian restaurant. That was really nice. I had risotto. Oh, I love risotto. I think it's subliminal from watching Hell's Kitchen all the time, and they always have risotto. So now I want it anytime I can get my hands on it. All right, here we go. Get all the loose threads out of there. And now we'll have the right colors together. That's that, and this is that. You know, you sew a lot of legit kits with Kona cottons when you can remember the color codes. Of course, not until after I'd already sewn them incorrectly, but that's all right. Let's see. Yep, I think that is good. Yep, it can all be fixed. Oh, thanks, Jean. Oh, excellent. Gladys, yes, visit the Confident Quilter. I love that selfie thing. It makes it so much easier because I was never able to keep up with getting everybody's name into Nightbot. Sir, you are very much in the way, my friend. All right, this will be the last piece for this one. I was saying it's been a while since I've been in this space. When I was setting up for this morning, making sure I had everything in the right place, I had to find my cat. I had to find my Acorn Easy Press because the cats had been up here living their best lives using my space as their own. And so everything was tossed on the floor everywhere. Okay. You're now in the way, and I need to show that we're on the last piece of fabric. Okay, I'm gonna move all of this because you're gonna knock it all down. Come here, Mr. Man. He's immediately purring. You're my bestie, but you gotta get down. It's not cuddle time. It's football Sunday, so there will definitely be cuddle time. Because I will lay on the couch and watch some football. All right. So now we've got all of these pieces correct, and we'll add this last bigger piece. And we'll trim. And then we will line cat sprinkles. There we go. We'll line this up so that I can see that the fabric is lined up down here to cover the whole space of what I need to cover, with the 1/4 inch up here to attach it to the fabrics from pieces 3 and 4. So now we're going to add piece 5 and complete this unit. I turned off the light of there's a little, spotlight on your machine, and I turned it off because it was glaring too much. And now I keep thinking that I've turned off my machine. I don't have my machine on. But it was like too bright a light to be able to at least see some of what I'm sewing up. Oh, Nightbot is saying it's been an hour. Everybody stretch. do an arm, the neck thing. Del Marie, Shannon, are you still going to the Georgia retreat? I am not going to the Georgia retreat. I will not be able to see everybody there. But I know that you all will have a really fun time because it is a beautiful cabin. And the fire pit is a lot of fun. So everybody that's going is going to have a banger, as they say, of a time, a bang up time. There we go. Loose thread. Gonna have to iron. Well, this is where I done the magic juice, and so there's like a defined line where I'd sewn it before. I'll have to hit it with some magic juice again. So I'm gonna get this one is all complete. I'm gonna let it set. I'm gonna finish up this one, and then I'll show how I trim everything down. Oh, don't be sad that you're just joining. There's plenty of time. Everybody say hello to the Siberian wind. Wow, Siberian wind. Hold on, let me think back. It's been a while since I've looked at my cheat sheet on names. Tammy. Tell me if I'm right. Cat sprinkles are the best. Oh, Joanna, thank you. You guys are gonna have so much fun. That cabin is gorgeous. I ended up following the quilt store that owns the cabin, and I've watched. They've had some other retreats there, and were sharing pictures from it. Like they did their own retreat there, so they were sharing pictures of it. So much fun. It's a beautiful place, and Georgia's gorgeous. I love Georgia. There was a time I actually thought I was going to be moving to Georgia. Yay, I got it right. Yes. Oh, that's going to be a blast. You're going to have a party. Johanna gets to bring her best friend this year. Oh, don't worry. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to figure out another opportunity. Because I would love to meet you in person too. We've gotten to sew together so much. Right. One last piece on this one, and then I'll show you the trimming. But I'll talk a little bit about when it comes to trimming the pieces while I'm ironing down that piece. When I cut out for any FPP pattern, whether it's legit kits, my own pattern, quiet play, any of the folks that do FPP patterns, I'll always cut out past the 1/4 inch seam allowance because I just like to make sure I'm covering all my bases, and that I know that I'm going to have enough fabric to cover it. So I always cut out a little bit extra. Um, yes, Del Marie. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be like the best friend retreat. That's so cute. Johanna's got her best friend coming, Del Marie and Philippa. It's gonna be a good time. So when you get to trimming, I recommend using the same ruler every single time. Because so some rulers use, like, so for this, I'm going to be using this. This is from Classy Creations, which they are like the granddaughters of the Martelli family, and they created their own business, Classy Creations. So I'm going to be using this ruler for this whole thing. The 1/4 inch for their, I don't even know if you can see it, maybe not, but it is like a thicker line. And so I'll get very used to where I line up that line on the 1/4 inch seam, where like the sew line is, that's going to be, and I'll get very used to lining it up like that. And then if I switch rulers, it might have a thinner line, or it might even have a darker line. It may just have a different line, or microscopically not be the same 1/4 inch as this one is. And when you are starting to put the pieces together, like the best thing about FPP is that you can create shapes that you can't normally create traditional piecing. But when you start putting the units together, so I put the units together into sections, and the sections into blocks. When you start building the units together to build sections, then that's really up to how you've trimmed the papers. And if you're not really close, they can be misaligned. They can be misaligned enough to make me annoyed. And I really like the precision of FPP. So I want to make sure that I'm using the same, like they tell you, don't start a project on one machine and finish it on another, because it's going to give you a different 1/4 inch and all that kind of stuff. It's along those same lines. So we've heard that kind of mantra in the quilting world. I believe it's so with rulers too, because of the difference of the 1/4 inch and the style lines that different rulers use. Right, there you go. So I'm going to use this one throughout doing the mini Blue Jay. And then I know that I will have the same final 1/4 inch, because I'm using the same, keeping consistent. I'm going to just trim it off. If the pieces are really long, I'll often trim the shorter ends off to make the longer edge shorter, make it easier to do in one fell swoop. I need to make sure that I don't misplace that piece. That's the last one for the other block. But then, yeah, I'll just use the same ruler. I'll line up its 1/4 inch in the same way for every unit that I'm trimming down, and for every section that I then trim. When I'm joining the sections, or when I'm joining the units and creating sections, and when I'm joining the sections together, I will often press the seams open, because there's so many pieces of fabric coming together. But sometimes you'll find, like with this piece, with for 1A, this is the top of the block, so it won't come into play at all, because it's the top of a 4-block quilt top. But sometimes you'll find where you'll have just one long piece of fabric, and then the other section that you're joining to it has like 16 different seams coming together. I will at that point press to the path of least resistance, which would be towards the single piece of fabric, rather than folding 16 joins back on themselves, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my noggin because I've seen it so many times. So, but they say, you know, the fabric will tell you, listen to the fabric. If it's really giving you a hard time pressing it to either open or one side or the other, unless the pattern specifically tells you you should be pressing it in a specific location because the designer has a reason for that, I would listen to what the fabric's telling you. But I try not to double back on things that have a lot of seams coming together, unless it's on both sides of, and there's no getting away from it because there's a bunch of seams coming together on both sides. Then I'll try to do it open. There we go. So this is all trimmed. 1A1 is all trimmed. You get just the wee littlest bit of the blue jay and some cat hair. But that is all trimmed and ready to go. And then I'll just put this aside and keep building the units. So I will put that over there and this back here. And then the finished one will just go under the stack of ones to be completed. I'll move this over to the one spot, and then I know I'll be starting this one. And I gotta re-hit this seam because this is where I've sewn it in correctly, so it's bubbling. All right, and we gotta add some green to this one. I wonder if I'll have to look at the sewing instructions if 1A and 1B go together. If they do, I'll go ahead and show you how I put the two different units together. Because often I will pin when it comes to putting the separate units together and then putting the sections together, because I want to be sure that those the different seams come together where they're supposed to, because that's the best part about it. Need to move this up a bit. Make sure I'm covering the whole thing. Yes, there we go. All right. So I am confident that I have the coverage of this fabric because I can see green coming all off the sides of where I need it to be covered. And then on the back side, I'm doing the feel test and I can feel it's past the paper. So I know that I have fabric covering the entire area. I can fling that back and sew it on. Those tiny pieces are definitely a challenge for me. I struggled getting the tiny green piece correct. That is, so there are a lot of little gotcha areas with foundation paper piecing and that you have to be aware of. And the where to line the paper up, I think was the hardest part for me. Remembering that if I was using a patterned fabric, remembering right sides, and how to lay them out. That was hard. But once I did that, once I got that part down, the fact that everything is backwards was really a struggle. And then I was trying to line up pieces of fabric upside down to the way I'd be sewing them. And that was difficult. It was the trial of patience. So not undoable. And if you're finding that that you are struggling with that part, the upside down mirrored image of it, if you want to, and I would say, especially if you're just starting out, this is something you can absolutely do. You can make your stitch length longer to baste the fabric on in the way that you think it should end up looking, and then test it out, like audition that sew line, and see if it lines up when you've folded it back and you've ironed it and flattened it. Does it cover where it's supposed to cover? And then you can go back in and sew it at the shorter stitch length to actually hold it in place in the final shape that it's supposed to be in. I definitely did that on a couple of projects that weren't as clear. The sewing instructions weren't as clear when I was first starting out. So using a basting stitch just to make sure was helpful, because that way I wasn't then ripping out, a 1.1 or 1.3, what have you, over and over and over again, because I was having a hard time figuring out where it was supposed to go. Pulling a 2.5 or 3-inch stitch length out was far less painful. All right, we got this guy trimmed down, and then I'm gonna pull out the assembly guide and see if A and B go together. Because if they do, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and show that there is A1B. All those pieces coming together. Pretty, pretty. All right, let's see. There's the pattern side. Look at the little blue jay. So let's see. This is, what would this be? Like, yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's bigger, but it's like in here. It's at the top of his noggin. All right, let's see. I don't think this is the, oh yeah, it is. Nope, so B will go to C first, and then, so this is the assembly guide for our project. And so A1 block, and B is going to go to C first. So I'm going to go ahead and run through A1C, and then we'll put those two together, and then we'll put them together to A1. So we'll finish this top corner. So that's what I'll do. We'll do that, because I think we got time for that. I think so. Yeah, I think we got time to do that. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did. I think I tried pinning two, but to audition like the fabric, but I could never flip it back correctly where it would like actually end up lined. So that big basting stitch happened, or was helpful. And Johanna, don't be sad about the green piece. You definitely have enough green, that grass green, left over, that you should be able to be totally good to cut out a new piece. You're okay, which is nice. All right, let me make sure that this is C. Yep. All right, so I'll just go ahead and get to work on C, and then we'll put them together. Um, Ingrid says, when I first started FPP, it was a major brain bender but now that is one of the things I enjoy about FPP. Yes. Yep. Susan, hi. Oh, thank you. Oh, that made me blush. Thank you, Susan. All right. We'll get this one, and it's only 4 pieces, so that's not going to be too bad. Let's use the card and bend it back. I feel like, yeah, from the fabric prep, I'd already bent most of these, like pre-scored these. So it's just a reminder now. All right, now piece 1 is this dark blue. And then 2 is the black. All right. This is really making me want to get the larger BJ, the Blue Jay, the one that I'm doing with Kona Sheen, done so that I can have like the mama and the baby size all done. Yes, keep that mantra. That is the mantra. Don't panic. We are good to go. Safety in numbers, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3. And I don't know how long a ride down to Frederick is, but if you don't have anything happening in February, February 8th and 9th, there will be a class. It's so cute. So the we're gonna do a pillow, and the woman, her shoot, what is it called? Logo has a seam ripper in it. So she asked if I could create a pattern that had a seam ripper in it. And I was like, yes, I can. And she is very much on board with, like, I really like being able to leave with a finished project. That makes me happy. And so we're going to do a pillow, and there's going to be 2 versions. There's going to be just the seam ripper, and you leave with a finished pillow with a seam ripper FPP panel of a seam ripper as the front. Or there's going to be, if you get the seam ripper done, which I think is very doable, we're going to also throw in, for some spice level, we're going to throw in the word sew in FPP also. And then you could add that to your seam ripper, and then trim the block down to the right size for the pillow forms. It's going to be so cute. I started test sewing last night so I can have the mock-up done. So excited about it. But it's down here in Frederick. Oh, a half hour. Well, that's not too bad. We'll get you down. Bring your best friend. It's a 2-day, 4-hour, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. over a Saturday and a Sunday. That's, that's how it's what she has available for the new group of folks coming to teach. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so fun. Right, make sure I got that piece covering. All right. I'm hoping. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention. Ooh, also into EPP. Yay. Um, I don't know if I looked at a couple of different things like the Farmer's Almanac and a couple of weathery things online to see if the East Coast is going to have well, Maryland specifically, if we're going to have a harsh winter or a mild winter. And I've gotten conflicting answers. So I don't know what we're going to end up having. But hopefully that weekend in February will be nice and gentle. Oh, doing an EPP class too. I'll have to talk to her, see if we can do that too. I'm definitely not an expert at it, but doing the slow stitch Sundays with Ingrid, I definitely feel that I can share what I've learned with, beginners. I wouldn't even know how to begin writing a pattern in EPP. Well, now my brain is going to want to write a pattern in EPP to figure it out. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks. That's fun. He's I love that he's got it scheduled. He's gonna make his prediction. I feel like the last real good snow we had was like 7 years ago. We had that late March blizzard because that's when the mama cat came to us. That's why we brought her in, was because of that blizzard. All right. It is time to put these pieces together. So we're going to do A, B, and C. B is going to go to C first. Like this. Is that okay? Yeah, there we go. Just making sure that it's in the screen. So C and B are going to go together. So these two units together first, and then we're going to sew this section to this unit to build the ABC section. And the fun thing about legit kits is they have these, they call them the magic white lines. But I'm gonna let you in a little trade secret. If you get any pattern, my pattern, again, any of the FPP patterns that are out there, if you just extend your sew lines, with paint, with pencil, something that's not going to come off with heat, if you just extend your sew lines all the way across, so like this, extend it from end to end, you've created your own magic white lines. So these help with lining up the pieces of fabric together, or the pieces of units together. Oh yeah, some free patterns. I just haven't even looked into that yet, but I think that would be fun. I love a good, I love a good slow stitch. It's so zen. I didn't think I was going to like it because it's hand stitching, but it's zen. All right, so so B and C. So this is, I'm going to try to show you as closely as I can. This is where these magic white lines help. You're going to line up the sew line to the edge of the other block. And then what I'm going to do is show you my airplane method. This is, you want to pin along the sew line, but if you go in at a straight angle and then move your pin to put it through the other side, like to pin the two pieces together, you will misalign the fabric because you're pulling the top and pushing the bottom by moving the pin that way. I don't know if you can see it, but if you, very much like you're feeding your grandchild or your own child, depending on where you're at in life, if you come in at an angle like an airplane and you land on that stitch line, your sew line, and you keep that tight angle and you check in the back to make sure you're on the sew line, and then you make sure that you're coming back out on the sew line, on the back and on the front, just like that. Oh, I know that you can't see in the camera. It's horrible, but you keep that angle, then your pieces of fabric have not moved and they haven't misaligned. And now you can sew those together. So come in at a steep angle so that your pieces don't shift left and right or up and down. With traditional piecing, I think they say that too. So it's very much the same with FPP, but with traditional piecing, we're usually pinning from the top, down. If you come in at that tight angle, you'll be good to go. And then you just have to make sure you're removing your pin, because doing it this way, the pin is on your sew line and you will absolutely hit your pin this way. Oh, Johanna says she enjoys all hand stitching. That's awesome. I have really come to love it for sure. All right, now let's test it out. Let's see how we did. I don't know if you can see, those are pretty dark, but it's these two pieces coming together with these two pieces that we were really hoping to line up. And I did a really good job. That makes me happy. So at this point, I will remove the paper from the seam that we just sewed together. I'll remove all of this paper, but I'll keep the rest of the paper in the block. It adds stability as we're adding the sections together. And then for when we put the blocks together, it will help again with that stability, the foundation of holding it all in place as we're sewing them up. So just the seam allowance of what we just sewed, that's all the paper I'm taking, but I'm getting it out of the way because it's bulky and it gets in the way when I'm pressing the seam open. Also, when you start doing these, sometimes you'll notice if you press the seam to one direction or the other, or you press it open, it kind of masks any misalignment you might have. So definitely take a look at that. If it seems like it's a little bit off and you're pressing to the left, press it to the right and see if it lines up the fabric a little bit better. Or press it open and see if it lines up the fabric a little bit better. All the little hints and tricks that you can do. And if you're having a hard time getting the papers out, if you have a really like pointy needle nose kind of tweezer, that helps a lot to get those papers out of the really small sections. I think I have tulip pink ones upstairs, but I have these gypsy quilter ones down here. And it helps just get into where the sections are a little bit tight. So now I'm going to go ahead and press this open, and then we'll add A. Ingrid says she thinks about the airplane method every time she pins, and she makes the sound in her head. I do too. I'm like, coming in Berlin. Oh, that makes me happy. So I am from the back side, from where we sew, I'm pressing that seam open, and I will check on the front, the pretty side of the piece together, and I will most likely put the Acorn Easy Press solution on that top side. Once I make sure that I like how it looks, and I do, add the magic juice and press it down again, and then I'll show you in just a second. How it came together. It's pretty. So I think there we go. It focused. So you can see where all those pieces come together right in that center of the triangle. And so that I am happy with that join. I'm going to trim off the little like dog ear sections that are hanging off the sides, because those just get in my way when I'm lining up for adding this section to another unit or another section. Get all the paper and the pieces out of the way. And then we're going to add this BC section to unit A1. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to line them up with the magic white lines. I'm going to land the airplane to hold the seam together and sew it up as well. And this is, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of fabric coming against all of these seams. So this one is most likely going to be a press open, because there's a lot of fabric coming in one space, and pressing one side or the other would just add more bulk to whatever side you chose to press it to. Let me make sure we're doing good on time. Yeah, we'll be able to get this together, no problem. Right. So again, I will line this up, watching the magic white lines to help me line up. And I don't want to move the fabric around. I just did that. So this is a larger piece of fabric, and so it was moving around. I don't want to stretch this fabric, the grass green fabric. I don't want to stretch it or move it around so it's misaligned. I just want to move the piece of, like the whole piece of paper, not the fabric itself, because I don't want to have any weird bubbles or gaps or anything like that. All right, so I'm gonna, because this is a little bit longer than that first one, I am going to put a clip on this end and a clip on this end to help me keep it steady. And then I'm going to get my pin. I'm going to do the same thing. Come in at a good angle on the sew line. I think a fly just landed on my forehead. On the sew line, make sure that I'm coming out. Oops, I didn't even Came in at so steep an angle, I didn't even catch the other side. Make sure on the other side, I'm coming out on the sew line. Make sure on this other side, I'm going back in on a sew line. Right here. And then I'm coming back out. There we go. All right. No, if you can see that, probably not easy to see with the dark fabrics, but we are good there. So now I'm gonna hold it and remember to pull the pin as I'm sewing so I don't sew over it. That. Here we go. Pins all the way out. And again, when you're joining these pieces, so the different units together and then building sections, basting is a good way to go here too, so that you can audition, make sure that it lines up the way you want it to line up, because we're joining a lot of colors together and you want them to be in the right spot. Doing a larger stitch length, like a 3.5 at this point, to audition, making sure that it's where you want it to be, and then going back and doing it in the shorter stitch length. Keep that basting stitch in, and go with the shorter stitch length to finalize. That's the perfect way to do it. But I think that looks pretty good. I'm okay with that. I'm happy with where they're lined up. Hi, Debbie. How are you? So glad you made it. We're putting together the ABC section of the mini Blue Jay. So I'm just going to take the papers out of the seam allowance. The papers and the seam allowance will add up quickly. That will add bulk. So I definitely recommend getting the papers out of the seam allowance every time. There's I have not found any benefit to keeping the paper in the seam allowance. Yeah. If you have found a benefit to keeping it in the seam allowance, let me know. I hate saying broad sweeping things. Someone maybe has found a benefit for keeping it there. For me, it just adds more bulk and makes it frustrating to lay flat, get it to lay flat. There we go. Got those picked out. That one comes out pretty easy. Debbie, how have you been? Oh, Ingrid says that she loves watching the design come together when you're sewing the sections together. Yeah. I think that's the fun part about the smaller block projects. You can start seeing the picture build much faster. The larger block projects definitely have easier blocks to do. Sometimes some of the blocks will only have 2 pieces of fabric on the entire block. And that's a nice break from the crazy of like 14 pieces of fabric on a single piece. But you start to see everything build a lot faster with these smaller projects. Right. If you have, in this section, there's a lot of pieces coming together. If you have one of those little plastic hammers, you can use that to help bang down the thicker sections where a lot of joins are coming together. You can use that little hammer to do that. When I first started out, I used an old meat cleaver that I wasn't using. So it was clean. It didn't have meat on it or anything, but I used that until I was able to get a little hammer. Um, and especially if like you're not doing FPP all the time, there's no reason to go out and get a little plastic head little hammer. So use what you got. But if that helps, it does really help. It's kind of crazy how much that does help flatten a high fabric count section. Right, hit it with some magic juice and some more heat. I'll show you, because that piece of fabric on the 1A was large, the fabric did shift some. So I want to show you what that looks like and tell you why I'm not at all concerned about it on this, in this particular case. So you can see, you can see here, the fabric shifted a little bit when I was sewing the sections together, and it pulled high, it pulled it into this section. And so there's definitely paper showing. The reason I'm not concerned about that at all is because I think that is barely 1/8 of an inch. So it's going to be within the seam allowance, and it's not going to cause any issues moving forward. There's enough there to catch solidly in the seam allowance, and you won't have any issues. It's not going to end up leaving a gap or anything like that. Totally fine. Not going to be a problem at all. What I am most concerned about is where all of these pieces come together, and did I pin it well? And I am going backwards. I'm very, very happy about how that looks. I'm like, this is what makes me happy about FPP. It's so pretty when all the little pieces come together. If they don't come, so I have a rip it 3 times rule. If I've ripped it 3 times and it's not coming together, then the quilting gods have made a decision that it is not meant to be. And I will not do it anymore. So I am I'm my worst critic. I'm an insane perfectionist. But it comes a time when you've just got to make the choice. This is not curing cancer. It's not going to be that big a deal. And then once you quilt it all together and you have a finished piece, no one's going to see that it's off maybe 1/8 of an inch or anything. So don't drive yourself insane. A lot happens when all of these sections are coming together, and the needle will move it, the needle will pull it as it's trying to sew it together. And sometimes it's just going to happen, and you are fine. It will be beautiful, and nobody is going to notice it. And that one person that maybe is a persnickety pain in the tush that might notice it and has the audacity to say something has zero decision making in your life. So don't even worry about what they're doing and what they're saying. But definitely celebrate the times that it comes together this nicely, because it doesn't happen all the time. So be excited when it comes together. Allow yourself to feel proud about that, because the next sections I put together might not work out this pretty. So I'm going to be excited that it happened this time. And that is sections or little units A, B, and C put together into that section. So there we go. There's the top of his little head. I'm so excited to have gotten to do this with you guys this morning. I'm going to keep going. So I will have block A1 done, and I'm going to go ahead and get A2 done as well. And then next week we'll start with the bees. So that we'll have all 4 of the blocks done before the end of November. And then the last Sunday of November for this month, we're gonna put the 4 blocks together of the Blue Jay Mini. So that's going to be the sewing schedule. So if you have any questions as you're building this, please let me know. Just shoot me an email. My email is also in the description box below. If you're interested in getting it and joining us, you are not too far behind. There is no race. You are on time if you wanted to do that. It is an affiliate link. I do get there's a little bit of cash involved, but it does not raise the price for you. And the mini is on sale right now. So have fun and do that if you would like to. Definitely come back next week and hang out with us, whether you're putting this together or you're just interested in FPP. Come hang out and have fun. Definitely check out everybody that put their own YouTube channels. We had So Terry, and we had the Siberian Wind, and we had Gladys and Kay's Purple Wall here. So in the chat, you will be able to go back and check out their YouTube channels. Definitely do that. Let me see. Let's see if I missed anything. Ingrid said she thought people were kidding about the hammer thing, but nope. It's crazy. It does a bang up job. Shelly said on one of her FPP projects, she stained it because I put too much starch on it. Yeah, to flatten it. Yep. That can happen, especially depending on what the fabric was. It definitely. Marianne says, love him. He's going to be so cute. And Karen said, do like the little ones more than the really large. Yeah, I enjoy, as I got more and more comfortable, I found that working with the smaller pieces is actually a lot easier for the reason that with this one, where the larger pieces of fabric tend to shift a lot and they kind of get persnickety. So I do like the smaller ones. And this is going to be beautiful. It's going to work up really well. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much for being amazingly understanding and just awesome friends out there. I really appreciate it. You guys, you make everything so much better. Yay. So I thank you all. I will see you all next Sunday for week 2, which will be blocks B1 and B2. And I'll show you, the A1 and A2 all done. And then the week after that, we will put them together and finish the little Blue Jay. Everybody have a fantastically safe week. Please take care of yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Bye, everybody.